For more, let's cross to London. Emilie Karafillakis is Research Fellow for the Vaccine Confidence Project at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
Hi, thanks you for having me.
I shouldn't have to ask you this question in 2019, but here goes. Are vaccines safe?
I think, like anything in life, nothing is 100% safe and without risk. There are risks with anything we do. I came here to the studio, I had to cross the road. That was a risk. Vaccines have very, small risks, but we have to acknowledge them. They can come with fever, they can come with certain reactions on the site where the injection was done. But overall, they are safe. And most importantly, they save a lot of lives. About 2 to 3 million lives are saved every year thanks to vaccination.
So at one end of the spectrum, you have countries where skepticism is growing. At the other end of the spectrum in this survey, you have places like Rwanda and Bangladesh where there's a lot of faith in vaccines. How do you explain that?
Well, confidence in vaccination is very context-specific, and it really varies, as we can see from the survey, from one country to the next. So what we see is in Rwanda, for example, there's a really strong healthcare system that put in place a really strong strategy that not only communicated about vaccine, but that really had an engagement strategy that took, the people from the country and worked with them on trying to find the best way to communicate about vaccination. And that was really key, and that's part of the reason why their program was so successful. In other countries, it's mistrust of health authorities, mistrust of government, in health systems. That has all sort of created general anxiety and general mistrust in vaccination, but also in science itself.
What do you make of the case of Italy, where you have a health minister who appeared to think long and hard before stating, yes, vaccines are safe?
Well, that's where it gets a little bit problematic, where vaccination comes into politics and where it's used as a political argument. And we've seen that in Italy, but in other places as well. And I think, we've seen some studies have shown that populist parties, for example, have more links to anti-vaccination sentiments than other parties. So there is a close link between political views and political sort of engagement and communication and vaccination. So we have to be careful, because in the end, there is no debate about whether vaccines are safe or not in the scientific community. So we shouldn't be creating one in that sense at the political level. What we need to do is think about the best ways we can communicate to the public about vaccination.
It's tough to win the argument, isn't it? If as you say, people who think that the system is out to get them anyway are peddling this to them.
It takes time, certainly, and I think the key thing here is having a two-way communication, so having listening activities to really understand what people are worried about, what people are concerned about, to be able to respond directly to their concern and have, targeted communication that really puts the population at the heart of the communication. But there are other ways as well. And one of them is that we have to be a lot more engaged on social media. So this is where people are having conversations now. This is where people get their information. And we've created a gap where it's been filled by misinformation. It's been filled by anti-vaccination sentiment. So if we don't fill that gap with, correct information that reassures people and give the answers to the questions that they're actually asking, then we're going to have some difficulties.
Were you surprised to see the level of anti-vax sentiment so high in France?
Not entirely, because it's not new. So the research group I work with, the Vaccine Confidence Project, we've done these type of global surveys in the past. So we've done one in 2016, and France was at the top back then. So about 40% of the people at that time also had concerns about vaccine safety. So it's confirmed a little bit what we had already found, and there are a few things that can explain why people are so hesitant in France. I think it's very contextual. There are issues that have happened in the country where people have have had reason to mistrust health authorities, and that sort of has created an environment where anything that comes now from the government or from health authorities has to be questioned, and people just don't trust the information that comes to them directly. They need to get a second opinion. They need to go online and try to get their own perception on this whole situation. And very often we see as well some links with certain groups. For example, natural medicine groups, where people who use homeopathy, they're quite a strong group in France, and we've seen that there's a link between the use of homeopathy and anti-vaccination sentiment. So these are the groups we need to work with and try to see how they can understand that vaccination is not part of their beliefs.
Yeah, but to which they would answer, to which those skeptics would answer, listening to us now, oh yeah, the alternative is to use these vaccines which are making money for the big pharmacy groups.
Well, I mean, I would personally, I would think about it that way. If I can prevent my children in the future to get sick, to get a disease, there is a market behind it. We have to acknowledge it. But one of the reasons why there is a market is to create the best available vaccine, to create competition. And I think, we have to acknowledge it, but it doesn't mean that vaccines are not safe or effective. And actually, vaccines are the most tested type of medicine available. They go through years and years of testing to make sure that they are safe and that they are effective, because we wouldn't want to inject healthy people, healthy children with something that we're not entirely sure about.
Emilie Karafillakis, many thanks for joining us from London. Emilie Karafillakis of the Vaccine Confidence Project.